last night, I watched Man City become the second team in English history to win the treble. Now, great moment for their fans, very happy for them, but from a rivalry point of view, yeah, I was not a happy man. I was praying and willing that Inter Milan could create and cause an upset to stop Man City from winning this fabled treble. But even though they had many valiant efforts, hitting the post twice and, going toe-to-toe against Man City in a physical manner, which I haven't seen too many teams do in the Premier League, but in the end, these guys became another victim of this incredible Man City juggernaut. And right now, I'm thinking to myself, from next season, who can get close to Man City currently? Who are the clubs that can do that? There's no one right now. And for me, this doesn't say much about the quality of the Premier League right now. Now, I might be a bit cynical, but for me, the Premier League is the biggest league in the world. It generates the most money. It has the most influence and impacts. And most importantly, which we forget all the time, Prem fans pay the most money to watch their clubs play, even though they're watching a third of their games throughout a season. And for all this cost and investment they're expecting from the fans, what are clubs doing outside of Man City to compete against them properly? Absolutely nothing. I mean, since we last won the Premier League title under Antonio Conte in that 16-17 season, Man City have won 5 out of 6 of the recent Premier League titles. And I was thinking to myself, who will get close enough to them next season to take the Premier League title away from them? Right now, I see Man City making it 4 title wins out of 4 in a row. They're currently on 3 out of 3 right now. And as I keep stressing, what is this saying about the quality of the Premier League and the quality of the rivals outside of Man City? Now, I've got a lot of respect for Man City. From a rivalry point of view, I'm absolutely disgusted by their success, as any rival of a club is going to be, right? But I respect them because they found their success in the right manner. Now, of course, they've spent a lot of money, but which Premier League club hasn't spent money? For me, it's a bit of a redundant argument at this point in time. But one thing these guys did properly, when they bought the club in 2008, of course, they made sure they outsourced the club to the best footballing experts. Now, of course, recently there were reports that Sheikh Mansour, it's his second Man City game in 13 years. But the reality behind that is that Sheikh Mansour, his family, they're multi-billionaires. Their lifestyle is completely different. Man City is just one out of many, many different investments that they have in multiple sectors and areas of business. And Man City isn't even the most important one. But they did one very smart thing all the way back then that has created this successful period for this football club. And they outsourced the club to the best footballing experts. In my opinion, Amber Barrack's one of the best chairmen in European football right now. And what did this guy do? He made sure straight away that he signed the best coach in European football, and he made sure that he got the best man to complement his coach in Beristan. And this is how they were able to transform the entire culture of Man City. Pep Guardiola isn't just a manager that only prefers to coach on the training grounds and work with the team. No, he's in every single fiber of Man City. And he helped construct that to create this current Man City that we're seeing right now. And the owners made sure to not undermine their manager by hiring the right staff alongside him to complement each other to create this Man City juggernaut. This is what serious teams do. Man City have never signed a crazy big name player and forced him onto a manager, forcing the manager to have to revamp their ideas and plans, right? No, everyone works in tandem to one singular goal, and this is why they have quickly leveled up to become the dominant force in European football right now. They're doing one of the most impossible things to do in football right now, and that's to become a legacy club. A legacy club where you're constantly winning trophies, silverware, every decade. Every decade you have a super team. Man City are in their second phase of that right now. And now that they've added Haaland to this team, wow. Well, they're going to a next level, and you can imagine they will invest incredibly smart this summer to keep those standards even higher. So after my very long-winded intro, I want to talk about what can my club do? What can our club do? What can Chelsea Football Club do now to close that gap against Man City? Because it's been a very long time since I've seen us come anywhere near close to lifting the Prem title. I'm not liking it. I'm sure you guys aren't liking it either. And in today's video, I want to give my own personal thoughts and opinions, my own personal ones. No one has to agree with me. On what I feel we have to address to catch up and hopefully reclaim this Premier League title. And there's 3 points I want to discuss. I want to talk about building an actual DNA at this football club. I want to talk about things like creating a squad culture. And of course, I want to discuss the pressing concerns in the squad that have to be addressed if we have any hopes of working overtime to close the gap against Man City. So my friends, share your thoughts and opinions later. But let me get straight into things now. I want to talk about the pressing concerns that need to be addressed in the squad. And for me, there's 2 vital ones that need to be addressed. That is a goalkeeper. That is a striker. And of course, for the other positions, we need to, of course, make some tweaks now in midfield and maybe in attack too. Now, whenever you look at successful clubs that win, when you remember great teams like Sir Alex Ferguson's Man United's or, Real Madrid's, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, you can go on. But one thing that each one of these successful clubs has is an incredible leader at the back in their goalkeeper, yeah? Every team that has won something, you always remember their goalkeeper, right? Because that's one of the most key positions to have in your team. Because a goalkeeper's leadership gives confidence to your back line and your defense. A top-class goalkeeper, he makes a decisive save one moment, then instantly kickstart an attack with his second move. The top goalkeepers, they make those incredible saves in the right moments when you need them to give your team that little bit of fighting chance and hope to keep you back in that game, yeah? And this is something that we have not had for a long time, ever since we allowed Courtois to leave to Real Madrid. And for me, there's one solution in the market right now. You guys know I've been gassing him for time on this channel over the summer, and that is Andre Onana. Now, this guy for me is one of the best sweeper keepers in the world. I've not seen a sweeper keeper this good since Manuel Neuer. And to be fair with you, it's common sense why his game is how it is. I mean, he was brought up in the La Masia system. I mean, we can't forget the impact that Valdez used to have at Barcelona. And then what did he do then? He then moved on to Ajax, one of the greatest football institutions in Europe, to just further his education even more, playing for a team that wants the goalkeeper to kickstart the attacks from the first phase. Then after that, of course, he had a bit of controversy in terms of the drug scandal, which in my opinion was incredibly unfortunate. I think most people would make mistakes like that, but he's come back at Inter Milan to show that he is one of Europe's top keepers at this point in time. And I think we saw it with our own 2 eyes in 4K that in yesterday's final, his impact for Inter Milan, how he galvanized his teammates. Some of the incredible distribution out from the back. I mean, I've been telling you guys for time, this guy is the embodiment of composure. This is what real world-class composure looks like. And the possibilities that gives your team when you have a keeper this good on the ball, this composed on it, this accurate with his passing range too. It opens up opportunities to create attacks and moves that you can't generate with normal goalkeepers. So for me, this is something you get done instantly. You don't fiddle around looking at 3 other goalkeepers. You decide this is the main guy I want and you sign him right now because this is what our defense is needing for next season. And after that too, for the second position, it's a striker. Now realistically, I don't have grand ambitions in terms of what we're going to do in the market in terms of signing a striker. I think Osimhen, the fee could be incredible. And I think without Champions League football too, would it be the best time to make a move for him right now, knowing that maybe for the next season, you could of course start doing the prep work to get this guy signed in time, right? In terms of like elite level forwards available in the market, there aren't too many open right now. So I feel like we could be disappointed in our search for one. But fortunately for us, we do have some good strikers already that we own at this football club. And I think with these guys working under a manager like Pochettino, they could actually find new form. Now, one of these guys is Armando Broja. Broja is respected a lot in this club, yeah. We can't forget those quotes from Raheem Sterling talking about this guy being the real deal. He was incredibly unfortunate with the injury he picked up last season. He could have changed a lot of things for us if he was playing for us. But I think under Pochettino, a guy that I'm hearing wants to see what he does in pre-season and really rates and likes him. Let's see what this guy can do for us. But in terms of how he presses, how he runs at defenses, the power, the strength, this is a guy that could be built up over a season. And I think another option too, which is not going to be popular, but we have to be realistic. Now that Inter Milan's season is over, we're expecting Lukaku now to return back to the club. Now, I need to say this very quickly. I don't care too much if Lukaku comes back next season or not, but I'm being realistic because it could be a reality if we can't secure a new forward. And the forwards we're linked with Osimhen, Martinez, other guys of this stature. I'd love them to come. I think they could definitely be success stories, but my only concern is, can we actually make these deals happen? And if not, what are the realistic alternatives? And for me, there's two realistic ones right now in Armando Broja getting built up, getting a season to grow and develop, and of course turning towards using Lukaku, who, as we know already, will be coming back to the club if Inter Milan don't find any new ways to negotiate for a new loan or a permanent move. But my opinion comes from the fact that reports have said for a while now that we've seen Pochettino is open to working with Lukaku. And for me, it makes a lot of sense. You know, Broja, Lukaku, they're a bit of the same profile of forward, right? They like to play on the shoulder. They can run the channels. They can be a platform to hold up the ball, to, you know, link up with teammates as well too. And most importantly, they have box threat. I think if you have a Lukaku that you're relying on for one season, with Broja as the understudy that has the potential, of course, to also be that first team striker as well, in Pochettino's system, where we're going to create a lot more chances, be a lot more dynamic, and attack with a lot more speed and pace as well too, these are adequate options that hopefully could get at least 15 goals minimum, which is 15 more goals than what we're typically seeing for most guys at this club. That could help us, of course, close the gap a little bit in terms of finally addressing our attacking identity concerns. You know, all these different profiles of forward we've used, like all these different types of forwards that we've used over the years, yeah? The only ones that are really successful have been your Drogba types, your Costa types, and right now Lukaku and Broja. They're the best we possibly have that can at least try to replicate some of that brilliance that we used to see from your Costas and your Drogbas. And for me, because I have to be realistic, these are guys I'm looking at least to see what they can do for one more season. A striker should complement how your team plays and attacks. That is the most important thing. And I think these profiles of advanced forward style strikers does suit Pochettino's concerns and needs. In terms of defense, I think we're absolutely sorted right now. And in midfield, one of the best deals we've done in our recent history was securing Enzo Fernandez. Positive things around your Lavias, your Casaidos, you know. But there's also other players in that midfield that I feel could find new form playing Pochettino's game and playing in his system. So these are some of the concerns that need to be addressed. The striker and goalkeeper are key, and they can play a big part in helping us at least get more points than what we definitely got from last season. Now, another concern of mine is addressing the need to create a consistent squad culture. Now, when you think of any successful team in your head right now, one thing that complements them is a unity. You know, this unified spirit that the entire club has during that period. Like, how many successful clubs find successes with this harmony behind the scenes? I mean, let's cast our minds back to Arsenal with all the dressing room leagues coming out at the time. It explains why they would fumble things hard during the final lines, right? That is an essential part of the game. And I feel like these intangibles, these are the things that aren't really cared about enough because it's not sexy. You're not going to get lots of likes and retweets on social media either. But these are the important things that you need to have in your squads, because you need to have a united together team that can fight, that can battle, that can do all these important things to lead you to silverware. My only concern right now is that with an influx of so many new players coming to the club, you know, many new players that have been in this country less than 6 months, I think it would be pretty childish to assume that they can instantly find a culture and a sense of unity without having a leader in a manager, without having other key figures in the squads acting as like hierarchical figures. That's just how the game works. And that was one thing we lacked completely last season. I mean, no one was happy. It was an absolute circus. And this has to be addressed, because when your team lacks confidence, then how are you ever going to achieve anything? Now, I've taken inspiration from other factors and sectors in this club, and they are the women's team and that is our academy, because they have been two of our best success stories this past 10 years. What Emma Hayes has done with the women's team is absolutely unreal in terms of the culture, you know, that win-win-win mentality, you know, how that's just like infected throughout her squad as well too. How they sign serious players, how they release players at the right time. They do all the things that big clubs traditionally have been known to do, and things that traditionally we have not been doing over these past few years. And of course, Cobham as well too. Now, for some of you cynics, the minute you hear academy, you know, your ears and brains turn off because you don't really understand it, you don't get it. But I'm going to try and break it down. We're talking about players that we've created, graduates from our academy, that have only known success and winning since they were kids. I mean, that's just from a domestic level, an international level. You can go on. Awards as well too. We are seen as one of the premier youth facilities. We are seen as one of the premier. This club is. We have one of the premium youth facilities across Europe right now, and we've been consistently achieving with them over more than a decade. There's clearly things that we're doing right with both the women's team and the men's team, right? And let's cast our minds back to when we lifted the Champions League in the 2021 season. How many academy grads were part of that squad? And you could argue that the existing squad that we had back then isn't as technically good on paper as the current squad we currently have. That tells you that to be a successful team is more than just paying big money for big names. It's a lot deeper than that. For me, it would be a massive mistake to discard every homegrown grads for the sake of accounting profits. I don't think that's a successful formula, to be fair with you. And I'm not expecting like a 25-man squad of strangers to instantly become a team just like that, because real life doesn't work like that. The academy is one of the foundations of the club right now, and they know what it means to win at Chelsea Football Club because it's been something ingrained in them since they were kids. Reports have already said that Pochettino wants to turn towards using the Cobham grads, using guys like your Jalabers, your Colwells, Mounts, maybe even Conor Gallagher's, Armando Broyers, Reece Jameses. These aren't duds. These aren't bad players, no matter what nonsense you hear on social media. Real football guys in the game, they want to use these guys. Why is that? The Cobham grads, these are the ones that tell the new signings what the mentality at this club's about. By having a successful academy like this, not only can you sometimes find the odd first team star, but you're producing a caliber of player that is good enough to be squad guys. And when you look in the market, how much are squad players going for in the market? They're going for 25 million, 30 million, 40 million for guys that aren't playing 60 games plus a season. Why would we discard all of them to then sign brand new ones that have no affinity to the club? I'm reading things like saying Trevor Chalobah, letting this guy move on. Who's going to replace him? I mean, we spent significantly more money. We've paid astronomically more wages for a guy in Koulibaly, where he's cost us a fortune and hasn't produced half the consistency that Jalabah's shown. Like, are we forgetting stuff like when Sir Alex Ferguson was the manager of Man United? For all your Ronaldos and Terraces and Berbatovs and Rooneys, this is a squad that also had your West Browns, your O'Shea's, your Fletchers, Sylvesters, etc, etc. Team comes before anything. And for us to cynically sell most of the core parts of this team, most of the tangible parts, just to move them on, for me, this doesn't give me much confidence. I've seen Bayern Munich have success by integrating their academy guys. I've seen Barcelona do that. I've seen Real Madrid do that. We're starting to see Man City finally tapping into their resources in their academy as well too. Let's use Paris Saint-Germain as a recent example of some of my concerns and some of the mistakes that can come from just disrespecting and completely ignoring the talent that your academy produces. Are we not seeing the grads that have left them, like your Nkunkus, your Musa Jabis, your Sakos, your Rabios, your Colemans, Magnon, Areola? How many of these guys have been moved on for Paris Saint-Germain to waste millions on signing squad replacement guys that aren't up to scratch, that haven't gone to the next level at all, and that have been a distraction from allowing them to focus on key targets? It's been like this for how long? And this is why Paris Saint-Germain are kind of seen as like pretenders in that sense, where For all the Neymars and Mbappes they're signing, they're facilitating these guys with players who aren't up to the same level or standards. They sold what they produced to sign worse quality, and what they sold has gone on to different heights and new levels. And for me, yeah, this is a warning sign. This is a warning sign because successful teams aren't just fully dependent alone on a handful of players in your first team. You need to have a united squad. And for me, it's like they kind of sold their soul a little bit. For what? You know, to chase incredible honours like the Champions League, which they're still to this day nowhere near closer to get it, even though they have Mbappe, Messi and Neymar as a front three together. And what makes things even worse, this type of talent pool that they just discarded, they didn't even receive max money for them. They received absolute peanuts for them because there was no vision behind how good these guys could become in the future. And this was a Paris Saint-Germain academy that's also seen as one of the best in Europe. You can't tell me Paris Saint-Germain would be worse off if they still kept these guys in their team, right? And then facilitated this team by signing your Mbappes and Neymars around them. This is how you don't squad build. And I don't want us making the same mistakes, especially when we've already got tangible results from the introduction of these academy guys to the team. I mean, most of the goals and assists we're scoring have come from academy grads, not new signings, not senior players. For every Ronaldo at Man United, there was an O'Shea or a Fletcher. You know, for every Ribery and Robin at Bayern, there was a Bardstuber. They introduced Thomas Müller. For the incredible world-class talent that they have at Real Madrid, they still have your Nacho Fernandez's, your Vasquez's, your Carvajal's. You're telling me a lot of teams that have found great success using methods that lots of people in the fan base seem to be totally against are doing something wrong. And that this isn't a key sporting principle we're seeing that actually does help and aid towards success for your club. I don't know if you guys are seeing it with me or not. I'm not too sure. But as I said, I'm only giving my thoughts and opinions. By utilizing what you have, it creates a focus that allows you to spend the correct amount of time on signing the top players, the great players for positions that you don't have. That's how most legacy clubs have operated over the decades, and it's a sporting principle that will never die. Now, I kind of get the impression that Pochettino already understands this. It's going to be up to our board to realize this too. And I guess this falls in nicely to my third point, and that is creating a DNA. Now, one of the main reasons why Man City are so successful is just how ingrained Pep Guardiola is with all things at Man City. And to be fair with you, I feel like this is the type of coach and manager that we need to have. Someone that wants to be involved in these different aspects. Now, Graham Potter wasn't one of those guys. You know, from things I've been hearing since the sacking, you know, he was kind of falling short in many areas in terms of like transfers, negotiations, things that he wasn't typically used to having to deal with. But I think for a massive club like us, we need a manager that understands that your role is greater than just working with the first team week in, week out. And Pochettino understands this. By having Pochettino ingrained in the hierarchy of the club, for me, hopefully that creates something that we have been missing since Jose Mourinho back when he first took over during the 04-05 season, and that is a sense of DNA and identity. We have not had that. What do I mean by identity and DNA? When you watch top teams play, how often do you see those telepathic moves played between certain teammates? That understanding, those complementary pass and moves, you know, that understanding of where their teammate is on and off the ball. When do you see that here? We have not seen that since Mourinho's first season, where he is the reason why Chelsea Football Club is seen as Chelsea Football Club today, because he knew exactly how to create and build this culture and identity. Drogba came, Carvalho came, in came guys like Essien in the future as well too. He saw the quality we had. He kept your Joe Coles, your Terrys, your Lampards. He unified these different aspects, and he created a system and style that had clear rules, clear ideas, clear DNA, and brought these specific players that you need to make that football come to life. Us, on the other hand, we've been going for sexy names after sexy names and putting these guys in systems that are kind of systemless. Now, some may argue Thomas Tuchel, of course, was the last guy that had a sense of like identity here, but I would disagree. He found a winning formula, a competitive formula, but he wasn't able to transcend that. Hence why in the end, we kind of stagnated afterwards. Back when Mourinho was the manager, how many times would Lampard and Drogba instantly combine in-game, produce moments out of nothing, and help us take the leads. That's what it's about in football. Like, you can't overly coach anything in every single detail and factor. It doesn't work like that. Most of the time, you decide how you want to play and you buy the right players for the right positions, and most importantly, the right roles. That's how this game works. And it will never be any different. You look at Real Madrid, Benzema, deep line forwards, 2 inside forwards and Vinicius and Rodrigo running in behind. You can at Man City in their incredible positional style game that's been gone to the next level now with Haaland playing up front. You see how Bayern Munich rely on overlaps and overloads in the wide areas. They've been doing that for how long now? Liverpool recently with the gang pressing style where they've relied on fast attacks, a front three that is very fluid, very dynamic, that has goal threat from either sides with a strike in the middle that links both areas of the pitch together. This is an identity. This is a way of playing, and all these clubs I've discussed have signed the right players and profiles to bring this type of football to life. Us, on the other hand, we've struggled to find the manager to instill anything, but it seems like right now Pochettino could be that guy that we have been needing now for how many years. He's shown throughout his history with clubs like Southampton, clubs like Tottenham, that he can take a team to the next level, that he can get his teams to buy into his ideas, how he can improve the overall game, how he can improve the quality of football and understanding of the system season in and season out. No one's going to know Pochettino's demands better than Pochettino himself, and for sure he must have final say on every single move at this football club. Most importantly, in sales. He must decide if he wants certain players to leave or not. He must have the power to focus on certain targets he wants, and we're seeing bright examples like our recent failed efforts for Ugarte. He must be involved in every single aspect of any type of business and squad movement in this summer in particular. That has to be the case. We need to decide what type of Chelsea do we want to be. Right now, it seems like we can't recreate the Chelsea of yesteryear that we saw under Mourinho. We must create a new identity. And the only positives are, we have signed the right personnel, especially in the January window, that gives us some hope for the future right now. And for me, I'm looking at Enzo Fernandez. If you find the system that allows this guy to fully be involved in every single phase in that midfield, I don't want him to just be playing stationary, being the guy that's, helping facilitate the play, dictate the game, etc., etc. He's a lot more than that, and he can go to even higher levels. And for me, I feel like with Pochettino and his ideas and things we've seen already, he could be the guy to make sense of this mess that we've been accustomed to seeing now over these past few years. So my guys, on that note, they're my thoughts and opinions. That's the end of the video. For me, finding success at the highest level, it's not just all this arbitrary basic stuff like just overspending on silly names and money. You don't find success like that. Human elements dictate success in sport. And once they're disrespected, when they're not fully acknowledged, when they're dismissed, when they're reduced, then of course you're never going to find that real success. Next season, this is the opportunity for our new ownership right now to really show us, the fan base, what their plans are for this football club and where they're hoping to take us. We're not under Roman Abramovich anymore. It's a completely brand new, different era. We're seeing different roles at this football club. We're seeing different structures. There's going to be a new stadium coming in the future. There's going to be so many things happening right now. We've taken inspiration from the Man City model. We're looking to get feeder clubs with this multi-club network. We've created sporting director roles. Now, personally, I feel like we could probably sign one more staff guy. That would be Michael Edwards, in my opinion, just to oversee your Winston Lees and your Stewarts, to be the guy that really controls the vision, right? But right now, we have some very yummy ingredients that can be combined together to produce a beautiful meal for the future. I'm just hoping right now that we're going to see this brand new look Chelsea fully unifying over this summer to come to the best decisions and resources, because if we can get things right in this sport, anything can happen. With Antonio Conte first took over, we won a losing streak, and we all kind of expected we're going to recreate that terrible 15-16 season. But look how things quickly changed once an idea and identity was created. This allowed the players to fully trust the manager and buy into that. And then everything was brand new. We have some competitive advantages for next season now with the fact that we don't have any European football, and we should have at least a week's rest in between games to fully prepare for the weeks ahead. Let's not take this for granted. Let's take advantage of this. And if we do everything we have to do from the ball level right to the bottom, who knows what special things could happen for next season. So my friends, they're my thoughts and opinions. Share yours below. You don't have to agree with everything I say. I don't talk for people to agree with everything I say. We all have our opinions. Let's get involved in this discussion. I'm EFC. This is BlueLionsTV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.